Welcome to The Who Project. I'm your host, Paul Gittens, where I sit down with leading professionals, artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Each share their definitions of success, past and present, how they differ, if at all, and what milestones they've set for the next chapter of their lives. This isn't just any podcast. It's a celebration of real stories from real people. Together, we'll explore the choices that have shaped their paths, the challenges they've conquered, and how they bravely carved out lives on their own terms. Each episode is a treasure trove of insights, tools, and inspiring tales to help you ignite your own journey. So buckle up and get ready for some great conversations. Andrew Burrows-Trotman, Burrows, Drew, my man. Thank you for coming and gracing me with your presence today and being a part of the Legacy Podcast, where we celebrate the individual achievements of first and second generation Canadians and their families. So from childhood to career, I want to delve into pivotal moments, uncovering, your cultural, social, and economic influences that shaped who you are, man, and how you came about being you and, your unique story. And discuss the legacies that, or legacy that you aim to leave behind. Drew, we've known each other now for 30 years?
At least.
30 years. Damn. That's a long time, man.
Long time.
For those of you that don't know, Andrew Burrows-Trotman is a very talented, respected, and accomplished TV and film writer, producer, and one of the funniest people I know. But before we get into your professional career, and your accomplishments thus far, I'd like the audience to get to know you, Andrew, the person who shaped you to be the person you are.
All right. Well, Paul, man, thank you for having me, first off. When you mentioned that you're doing this, brought a smile to my face. You're known as Paul the Truth Gittens in some circles. A long time. And this seems like a good fit. I get it. I'm excited about this opportunity and appreciate you creating space for me. As far as what shaped me, I guess it's straight up Sigmund Freudian things, it's a mom, it's a mother.
Well, that's it. See, yeah. So that's where I love to kick off, right? It's like, just give me some background, man, where you're from, where your family is from, where mom's from, how you got here, let's start with your childhood and see.
Yeah. Where do you begin? It's, I never knew my father. Obviously, I had one who contributed at least a biological factor to the situation. But beyond the biological factor, it was my mother against the world. She always used to say that was her line. It's me and you against the world.
Wow.
She comes from Guyana, country woman from an area called Liliendal.
Okay.
Guyana's got some very funny names down there, Bellavawaktin and Liliendal. You blame the Dutch on that. But, many colonizers got a touch of the land. You're dealing with the Dutch in the early days, but the British in the later days, a lot of Portuguese folks up in there too. But, it's a West Indian nation. My family actually got there through Barbados.
Wow.
My grandmother, Miriam Membo, moved as a child from Barbados to Guyana.
Wow.
Used to be a real pipeline between the two countries.
Yeah.
So they kind of, at one point, it was swinging one direction where Bajans would come to Guyana for work.
Right.
In the early 20th century, Guyana was like a crown jewel when it came to the sugarcane and so on. But then Guyana hit very hard times, and Guyanese go to Barbados for work now.
Yeah.
So amongst other places. But yeah, my grandmother came over, met this red man named Egbert Trotman. What am I saying there? A Putuguese red man, and they eloped. He eloped with a dark-skinned black woman.
Wow.
And they created the Trotmans, and my mom came out of that family.
Okay.
And yeah, she immigrated to Canada through the domestic scheme, which is something that very few people talk about. I would actually, it's one of my dream projects to do up here. For people that may not know what that is, they were not letting black people come up here. If you saw the Porter, we were trying to really get into that.
That's right.
There was 100 people they allowed per year. Even though we were a Commonwealth nation, we had rights to be here, literal, by the British stamp, but they didn't want black people here.
Yeah.
So to be perfectly honest, they would actually, if you were a white West Indian, you could skate through, but they were stopping you straight up.
Yeah.
But by the 60s, they created this thing called the domestic scheme. and maybe in the 50s. I'm not the expert on it at this point, but it was for women from the West Indies to come as domestic servants.
Yeah.
And it was a very troubling kind of system. It was indentured, essentially. Your visa was tied to who you were working for. You lived with them. You weren't allowed to go to school. You were just here to work and go back.
So what year was that she came?
1964.
1964. Okay.
So from the little stories I caught, the family she stayed with was called the Craigs. And I believe they were in Rosedale, and the husband was a big publisher. It might have been at Maclean's.
Okay.
But that facts are all going to be hard to, sift through now from people who can't speak no more since everyone's passed. But I did meet them once or twice. It got hairy with them because she wanted to go to school, and she actually did it. She was sneaky about it. She went to school for nursing behind their back.
Wow.
When they found out, became a thing. She moved out of the house. They could have rescinded her visa. They decided not to take it there.
So how old was your mom when she came?
She was 32.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and it was with a whole crew of people, and they had several waves of that.
Right.
So that's how she got here. There's no one here. Nobody else in the family's here.
So can I interrupt you one more time? Sorry. So what was her deciding factor or the catalyst for her to come to Canada?
Guyana had very limited opportunities. It was a country that you could see a slide was occurring. It was around the time of very tumultuous political battles between two major leaders there, Chetty Jagan and Forbes Burnham. It was becoming very racialized.
Right.
Black and Indian populations are starting to get into riots.
Right.
There was an opportunity, especially for a woman. She was working at a place called Fogarty's as a secretary.
Okay.
And she had done like economics, home economics and stuff like that. So it wasn't like there was a bright thing. You're either getting married and having kids, but what was the future of the country was really at a tumultuous state. Independence was coming up, I think in 1967.
Okay.
But independence also came with, you just kind of left holding the bag, which they did to every country in the West Indies.
Yep.
So she just felt it was a good time to go.
Okay.
And she was the youngest of her brothers and sisters. Everybody else, was already into their families, into their lives. She was young enough that she was the bridesmaid at her eldest sister's wedding. So, flower girl.
Flower girl. Okay.
So anyways, she comes to Canada.
She's brave. She's trailblazing.
Yeah. But I think there was a cost to that she was never discussed. The isolation.
Mm-hmm.
She has no one to turn to.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a time where you can go, we're going to order food and just pick up whatever we want. And there's no West Indian food here.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yep.
You're not prepared for this. You're working, for a pittance, and your social circles are non-existent. So I think it was a great deal of isolation in that. I wish I'd asked her more about those things and, really got in her head. But, in retrospect, I think my mom, suffered from a great deal of mental stress and things like that from kind of raising a boy on her own in housing at the poverty line,
She did a hell of a job. Look at you now.
No, I barely. And that's what's crazy is she did a hell of a job, and she was like a lioness, and she was that woman who come out with the leather and come embarrass me in front of friends. If I skip school, I've been given licks in front of my friends for skipping school.
Dude, she was trying to protect you and give you the discipline.
And still I was wayward, and still I was going to school, but also hanging out with the cool kids, and I wanted to be around.
Scarborough native.
Yeah.
Scarborough's in the house. Love it. So what are your first childhood memories?
Well, I grew up in housing through and through. My first stop was Glamorgan, over at Kennedy and Ellesmere.
Yes.
And so it was funny when Drake starts talking about you got real ones living down Kennedy Road. And you're hearing girls in Malibu singing that. And it's like, wow, man. But I don't want to divert too far off. First memories, there's a lot of kids in housing. It's just like, it's an adventurous place. It's just like kids everywhere, just playing and getting in trouble and running around. And, so it was kind of fun. Like, take away the roaches and, the condition of the building and, some of the things you witness, you're around a ton of kids. So it was just adventurous. That was the era of you're outside all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Not we didn't have video games and definitely not locked
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
like,
right?
you're out there.
Made up things.
You made up things. Right? You went through fields.
Yeah.
You're playing around and getting into all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that's my first memories is just playing outdoors till you're exhausted and having to be dragged inside.
Wow. Yeah. That seems like it is a long time ago, but it's so foreign, compared to like, say how, my kids were raised and, the world got a lot smaller, it seems, and we got a lot more scared of what the world was, was going to give us. We went from, I always say this, we went from 9 channels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the
500
to 500 with the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
So what's happening around the world and what crazy stuff's happening, and then all of a sudden that just changed your perspective on how you raise your kids, right? So we were outside, until the lights came on.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they went off.
Right.
Yeah. It was like, man, we were really out there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I grew up in Scarborough in the era of like Paul Bernardo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't exactly safe, but we're out there. But yeah, it's a different era now. Like I see friends with kids and they're telling me about crazy bullying and getting robbed at, in nice areas.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what it is to deal with that.
Yeah.
Man.
So how did your mom keep you on that straight and narrow? Like, were you a church kid?
Did you not hear what I said? I said it was licks. What were you not hearing? She was fire and brimstone. She took spare the rod, spoil the child. She was not playing around. She didn't know any other way. She didn't think if you can't reason with someone, you have to scare them. And I was scared.
Yeah, me too. Man.
I stayed indoors when I could. And yeah, I went to Sundays. My mom was deep in church, and she would go to those real West Indian churches that, man, I saw some weird things happening in those churches. And they would be all day knock down, drag out affairs. So
what denomination is that?
I would say probably spiritual Baptist is what I want to call it, because the women had to have their heads wrapped to enter the church. As soon as you walk in, you're hit with frankincense and myrrh, like biblical.
Wow.
Because your eyes are tearing up from the church is choking up with. I'm not talking like something from Bed Bath and Beyond. I'm talking about they got it from Bethlehem, probably. Like,
wow.
We're talking real frankincense and myrrh.
This was every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
All day?
It went on forever, man. I missed every episode of Battlestar Galactica because of this.
Yeah. No, I was a church kid too. That's I know what that was like, man. We were Anglican, and I was at church every Sunday, right until I was like 18, man.
That's a real classic Bayesian thing, the Anglicans.
Yeah, man.
They call Barbados Little England. You guys keep it together.
Oh, yeah.
That Anglican-style church.
St. Timothy.
That is what? That's
Kennedy Shepherd.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Every Sunday, and my grandmother was there, and my parents were there, and then it was Sunday school, and then when you got old enough and you graduated from like Sunday school, that's when I was carrying the cross. I was coming in first man in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how it was. That's what it was for us. So I hear you, because, I would leave on a Sunday morning and them boys would be outside playing and then we would leave church. Okay. And then it was to my grandmother's house.
Right.
And I'm scratching now. You know what I mean? Like I just know what action's happening on the street, and I want to go play some road hockey, you know? Mm-hmm. And that wasn't happening. It was like, nah, you're sitting here with your grandmother and your grandfather and you're talking all day long. And by the time you get home, everybody inside.
Man. And classic, like I said, that's the difference between Barbados and Guyana. Very heavy Anglican presence.
Yeah, man.
In Barbados.
Yeah.
And they were very about order.
Yeah.
Bayesians are orderly people.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. I'm going to make you laugh. Last time I was in Barbados, I was with my parents. I surprised them. I flew down. They were already there. And my mom had to go to the bank in town, Bridgetown, right? And so it was real weird shit, right? Like, if you want to withdraw money, you got to go to your home branch, wherever you open the account. Then they give you a piece of paper. Then they send you down to Bridgetown, right? So I walk in the bank with my parents, and the woman, wait, you can't come in here looking like that. It's like what? You short pants too short. Yeah. Right? So when you talk about orderly, man, like that is the truth.
And you're in scalding hot weather. And they want you to put it on Pantone.
It was summer. It was like it was burning up, man. It was it was crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's Barbados for
you. You got the handle on them.
And so when you're talking the difference, the church I'm going to, people are falling over like they're having epileptic seizures from getting demonic presence removed from their bodies.
Right.
There is all kinds of oils and things flying around. It is sweaty. It is exhausting. Women are hollering and wailing, and it is...
So the mostly females there?
Oh, absolutely. Mostly females. I don't know why.
Okay.
But that was it. But what was his name? Reverend Batson was the man's name. I think he was either Trinidadian or Antiguan.
So was there like a Sunday school for you, or you had to sit there?
No, you're in this mix. You got to sit there and quiet down and learn patience and go through the whole thing. And yeah, it's a lot. Sometimes they would release doves. And wow. I'm telling you, it was a whole nother level of wow. It was something. Like, so, I couldn't even explain it to people.
I mean, this is the first time, you and I have sat down and had this conversation. So this is all new to me.
Yeah, man. My mom would even tell me, hey, don't talk about the church to other people, That's our business. Don't go talking to people.
So when did you stop going?
When the church shut down. They were on Main Street by Main and Danforth.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little small church front.
Yeah.
Right in there. They're barely hanging on by a thread.
So wait a second. That was a hike to get there too then.
Yeah, I'm coming from Scarborough, getting off at Main Street Station.
I know.
And so you're adding all that in.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was a full day. Okay. So how old do you remember how you were? That
was probably anywhere from 7 to like 13, 14.
Okay.
Good long time.
Okay. So then church was over. You didn't find another church?
Oh no, she kept finding new churches. Yeah.
Okay, but when did you get to stop going?
When I was man enough to tell her I'm not going no more. When she can no longer physically force me to go.
And so how old was that then?
Probably about 16.
Okay. Okay.
And by then she was going to the next church, where this was a Trinidadian church now. And now she was known as Mother Lynette, because you get a certain certificate.
Come on.
And now she was preaching, and she was in the upper echelon now. She was Mother Lynette.
So this is her
can't really escape church, because I tell you what happened.
Okay.
She started bringing the church home. Now hosting church. So next thing you know, it's like, I'm not going, but now I got a house full of Black elderly women taking up, and they start singing every hymn, and it's all day long, and you're trapped in your room, or you have to go out and, you can't come back till they're gone.
Oh, wow. So this wasn't Sundays though. This was Sundays. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
all right. Okay.
So that's the milieu, the spiritual milieu I'm raised in.
So what kind of student were you?
I could get good grades if I applied myself.
I know that feeling.
Always applied myself.
I know that feeling.
But it was, like for instance, early on, I don't know what they thought of me. They just made a lot of assumptions. So I started getting like held back in classes. So they kept holding me in grade 1, I think it was. And I should have been in grade 3 by this point. My mom went in and kicked up a rampus about it and abused them up good. And they put me back. They said I have a learning disorder or something, And she told me, don't tell me my Black child. No problem, my child. I did, because my mom was the one reading me biblical story. Like that was something I had to do every evening. So she read me these books with the pictures, where I see the words, see the pictures, see the books, see the words. And she had the times tables that she wrote out by hand on Bristol board and had them all over my room.
Wow.
So then finally they, Mr. Muggs or something, they asked me to read the book. I read it. She's shocked. She asked me to read another one. I read it. Then she realized that I can read. No shit. You see this little Black kid who isn't talking around all these little white kids, and you think he can't read.
So let me ask you a question then. The school that you went to, the elementary school you went to, was it diverse? Or did you, because you just made a comment about, being the Black child around other white kids.
Diverse, but not with Blackness. Like there was maybe 2 or 3 Black people. A lot of Filipinos.
Okay.
A few Indian people, but mostly white. I went to St. Lawrence Catholic school. That's up right across from Winston Churchill.
Okay.
over at Kennedy.
Kennedy and Ellsworth.
Lawrence.
Lawrence, sorry.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to St. Richard's, which was really white. They had that's where I met Warren Gordon,
Come
the
on.
one black man there,
So,
and me, and then Sean Walker showed up.
oh my, so
That was
where's that school?
Bellamy, between Ellesmere and Lawrence, in a little perfect little, suburban neighborhood.
Come on. When I came to this, when we came to this country, you know where I first stayed? With my mother's brother's family at Bellamy and Lawrence. You remember the KFC used to be at the corner?
Yeah.
He lived right on Bellamy, like on Bellamy, just south of Lawrence on the west side. So it's so weird that
this school's at Bellamy and Vermorton.
Man.
So it's just
isn't that weird? Like when you think about that, right? Like, wow. And so I always thought Warren was out east, like Ajax. So they moved from there to Ajax then.
That was years later.
Years later.
He's a Scarborough man. Grew up in
So how old? So Warren Gordon is a good friend. I'd probably say he's probably your best friend.
Pretty close, yeah.
Right? So man, like
that's a fair thing to say.
Yeah. So we've all known each other. So we're talking about a friend of ours. I didn't realize that you've known him since you were how old?
Kids, since we're grade school. But yeah, like when you say best friend, I more consider him a brother. I look at him as a brother. It's more of a brotherly thing.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Like Graham is like that to me. Yeah. So I feel you on that.
Yeah, his boys look at me as their uncle,
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, he grew up in the same neighborhood. And so yeah, that's what was going on around them times. There was a lot of interesting things happening at school. My mom had to keep catching. So that was one. That the boy can't read.
Yeah.
That's just a failure of paying attention.
They try to do that to me too, by the way. So I get you.
The Catholic school also pulled aside me and a couple other black kids and said, hey, if your parents are giving you licks, that's illegal. And here's my card.
Come on.
And so I tried to use that when my mom come with the leather one time. I said, Father so-and-so said, you can't hit me. And that just made it worse.
Wow.
You double the next year. Go back and tell Father so-and-so that he is not your mother.
Wow.
And then also that, it was in the days of basic, general, advanced.
Yep.
They were always like, hey, just stay in general, man. Don't worry about it. When you feel it. But what I didn't know is if you stay in general, you got to redo that same class before you move to advanced.
Right.
So my mom found out in grade 9 that my grade 8 guidance counselor kind of shuffled me into all general classes.
Right.
Realized this is a problem. Came to school, kicked up a storm. Next thing you know, they had to split the math class in half and put us in advanced.
God bless her, man.
So, you have to kind of watchdog this stuff. So
God bless her.
You're asking how I end up here? A watchdog.
Strong black woman.
Yeah, man. She was a PSW over at Kennedy Lodge nursing home.
Wow.
Breaking her back, lifting people out of bed and, doing all the grunge work.
So she wanted you to be educated.
Oh, that's all.
Right?
Yeah.
She had...
Love God.
Yeah.
And get an education.
Yeah, man. So she had a vision for you.
Oh, she had a very strong vision. I mean,
so then
down to how she chose my godfather, Mr. Spanky Jackson, who, rest in peace, passed away a couple years ago.
Okay.
And this is a dude who I'd go to his house. His son, Abiola, was my godbrother. And his house was Afrocentric before I even understood the word was. My Aunt Burl, his wife, natural hair. They ate a vegan diet back then.
Wow.
And his whole house at the time, it felt cluttered. There was an apartment and he lived in classic Winona Drive.
Where's that?
Oakwood and Vaughan, like black area.
Yeah.
Never see so many black people till you go down there.
Right.
And his apartment was cluttered and I always felt very like I didn't understand why till later, years later, as a grown man, he finally bought a house. And it wasn't because he didn't have money to buy a house.
Okay.
He bought a house years later because he was spending his money on black art up till then. So he was traveling the world buying black art and pieces, and he was obsessed with black involvement in war, in all the big European wars. He'd buy the dioramas. So this man's house, when I got to his house in Caledonia now, became a museum. I mean, see this like green tapestry behind you? He has paintings from Haiti that size.
Wow.
And so like his collection's got to be, it should be like stored at York University or U of T or somewhere like that. The school board used to come check for him once in a while to come on, Black History Month and stuff like that. But so that was my godfather, and I was chosen,
Wow.
That was not by accident. And all he was about was mind and knowledge. His gifts to me were thesauruses and,
Yeah.
books about Black history and Black art. So that stuff.
So how old were you
sits in me.
when you were around that age when the stuff that you're recalling right now?
Oh, from as old as I can remember speaking, I would go to his house on weekends. Okay. He'd come to Scarborough, pick me up, drive me back there, spend the weekend, and just.
So your mother and him were like friends?
Yes. Yes. He's Guyanese as well.
Okay.
So he's actually related on my mom's sister, one of her sisters, her husband, that is his nephew. If it makes
Got
sense.
it. Okay. So that's okay. So I'm trying to connect the dots.
Yes. In-law family.
Yeah.
Met them through them.
Yeah.
Brilliant man. I hope one day help, me with a documentary or something on him and, and kind of really spotlight who he was. But that was his life, was all about.
So tell me about teenage Andrew. What kind of teenager were you?
By then, growing up in Glamorgan, but, things happened. We had a period of time where we were just pre-adolescent, probably about 12, 13, and maybe 14 got real unstable. We had been evicted. All our stuff we lost in storage. So all those valuable stuff, all our photos, everything, like I don't have photos of myself like really younger than like 12 now. A few things popped up from family saying here. And we were living in hostels downtown. So we were bouncing from hostel to hostel. At first, we were actually just trying to hang on by living in those motels along Kingston Road and along Eglinton. And then that money ran out. And, and at the same time, she's still trying to have me have a normal, I'm still going to the same school, but people don't realize I'm living in a motel. But she's still buying me Castle Grayskull, and I have my He-Man doll, and I'm trying to be a kid. But from there, it was a good 2-3 years of like really unstable home insecurity, as they would say. And so we were just in like Nell's downtown, the Red Door. I can name all these places that I stayed. Weirdly, they were kind of fun as a kid because they put you in a bunch of programs. Like you got to learn to swim and ride a horse, and they don't want no kid just sitting in a hostel. But at the same time, you're living in a hostel. You got to get up at a certain time, get your breakfast. There's a lot of mental health issues around you. People just snapping off, and you're living in bunks. There's no privacy. It's a lot. Then finally, we get back into housing. So I'm back in Scarborough now, Markham and Ellesmere.
That's where we picked up. That's where I know you from.
Yes. It's 2180 Ellesmere Road.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did she ever think to herself, all right, I'm going to take this child and myself and go back to Guyana?
There was no opportunity to because her parents had passed by then. But I was sent home a couple times.
Wow.
At one time, I was probably about 5, 6. She was struggling, brought me home. I stayed with my grandmother for a while. I was a real mama's boy, so I did not like that at all. I had a fit. But then it turned into an adventure because we were living on a farm in the countryside, and we had this pig. I used to ride around, a Buckshire pig. Used to ride it like a horse, Jimmy.
Wow.
And, just like crazy adventures. Like it was.
So was that like over a summer? Or was this like.
It was over longer than a summer because my mom needed time to recuperate and get herself in order.
Right.
It was only because my grandmother was older that she came back. Otherwise, I might have stayed there a year or two. But I was there at least 6 months. And, just getting into all kinds of things like black and red ants chewing you up and marabunta bees and chasing you around and like just climbing mango trees and getting itchy, scratchy things all over you. It was jungle, man.
Wow.
But there was no option for that by the time I'm like, 13, 14. They had passed.
Okay.
The house that was there had burned down. So it was Canada or bust.
Okay.
And I think she was really worried about education too.
Okay. Right.
So it's like, if I have to suffer, I want him to at least get through with this thing.
Right.
So
your teenage years, you're now, what I'm hearing is that there's some stability.
Yeah, that was considered stability for us.
Yeah.
Now I'm in Tuxedo Court. I'm not worried about having to move nowhere.
Right.
I live here.
Right.
And so,
then you're off to...
I go to Pope John Paul.
Okay.
So she kept it with the Catholic schools because she thought,
Yeah.
it would keep, as she said, you don't make no baby in this house. You don't get no girl pregnant.
Yeah.
So she thought that
and the police
wearing gray pants will keep you from doing that.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, she thought Woburn was a mess. It was filled with street urchins and ruffians.
But so you and Warren were going to different schools at this point now?
No, Warren went to Pope too.
He went to Pope too?
Yeah. He was just 1 year older.
Okay.
But yeah, my mom had nothing to do with with she thought public school was godless.
Right.
And so, yeah, even though she's not Catholic, at least they believe in a God.
Yeah. At least they believe in a God. Right. So here we are. You're in high school now. You're young man.
Yeah.
Right. And man, the story you've told me is just blowing my mind. Like I'm listening to you talk, and there's a couple of things that come to my mind. Right. Like one, there needs to be a movie about your life. Right. Because that just sounds like there was so much going on. There's so much to unpack for me. And the second thing that comes to mind is like throughout this entire conversation is like how powerful a woman that she was, man, like it blows my mind, right? To just think that being a Black child growing up in housing in Scarborough, there's so many ways that could have gone wrong, and she fought and she fought and she fought, and she kept you on this straight and narrow, man. And then this kid leaves high school and goes to where? What school did you go to?
University of Toronto, Scarborough campus.
Wow. Tell me if you can recall what she said to you, or where you were, what she said to you when you got that acceptance letter to the University of Toronto. Because to me, in my mind, this build up to this story is like, this must have been a day of rejoice.
Yeah, it definitely was. And definitely graduation too. And she had my godfather there. She was there. When he passed, actually was able to reconnect some pictures that he took, at the time. But yeah, no, these are momentous moments for her in ways I couldn't understand at the time.
Right. Right.
So, I was definitely brought up in prayer to church and giving Jesus all the praise and the glory for getting me through. And
what did you study at U of T?
English and history. I did a double major.
So why English and why history?
At the time, it was honestly a little bit of a combo. It was what I was good at.
Uh-huh.
So I knew I'd get grades easily in these subject matters. So I thought, why not continue? And at the time, I was thinking maybe I'd become a professor because it sounded like a cool job. You get to wear corduroys and cool cashmere sweaters, and you work like an hour a day and get paid a lot of money. It seemed like a good idea. So
you're creative. We know this. We're going to get to this. When did you realize that hey, I'm good at this writing thing?
It was early on, actually, because I was using it as a tool. Because for a little while there, during the unstable times, I would have to dip in and out of schools. So, I was trying to keep going to school in Scarborough while in a hostel downtown. And so it's like you're doing a reverse 1 hour, hour and a half in the mornings.
Yeah.
So it wasn't working out. So I had to dip to other places for a while. And I hated making new friends. I was very, very shy. I was painfully shy. And what I realized is people love to be seen. So the way I'd make friends was, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to make you do creative writing classes where you make up stories.
Yeah.
So I would just take whatever movie was coming out, Star Wars, whatever, and do what I didn't even realize was fan fiction at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Little stories, but then I'd name my classmates and put them in there.
Wow.
They'd be over the moon about that. Like, oh my God. And then it'd start giving me notes, like studio notes. Hey man, next time, can I beat up the bad guy?
Come on.
How
old were you?
I was probably about 11, 12.
Wow.
So then I realized I got a thing for this storytelling thing, and And honestly, it's directly from my mom. I think she had an even greater gift than I do. I think she was trying to express that through the church. And why she started, it's like she would preach, and she could remember biblical stuff almost by memory. Like, I remember like Mormons and stuff coming to the door, and she would just chant them down with just correct them. And they just run off. They just run off, scurry off. But like my mom, in a different era, she would be a Toastmaster. She had the gift of gab.
Yeah.
She was a charismatic preacher, and she was great with words. And like, even after she passed, I'm going through her stuff, you're just finding all this writing. It was a form of catharsis for her, but like, she was trying to make her life better in poverty in ways I couldn't see as a kid. Like, she was writing out like mantras or things to do, or like she was trying to find ways to cope,
Yeah.
But it was always through the written word or the oral word,
Wow.
And so that was my mom.
So that kind of led you,
It was in my DNA. She was telling me stories as a kid.
Yeah.
She's teaching me story structure.
Wow.
Before I even understood it. Wow. So that was all seeping in.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I'm also an only child.
Yeah.
I entertained myself a lot.
Yeah.
So
you got that imagination too.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was playing with my own toys by myself.
Yeah. Yep.
We won't get into playing with myself. That's a whole other story, but that's the teenage years. But at least at this point, you're like, playing with toys and creating stories.
Yeah.
And like, so it all was there. The pieces of the puzzle were there.
Right.
And then I'm doing that thing to help meet friends.
Yep.
I'm shy, which supposedly all writers are kind of introverted. And then we discovered the Canadian Film Center after we graduated. Warren actually found it and was like, we should go volunteer at this place. And he was the one that pushed us. And then I see this craft of filmmaking. I'm like, oh my God, this is everything put together and then added layers. This is perfect.
Yeah.
So that was the first.
There started the journey.
The journey.
So.
But it wasn't on that journey in high school.
Okay.
I did not know about filmmaking in that way.
Okay.
Nor was I really into cinema yet. I watched a lot of TV though.
Okay.
I had a picture of Brandon Tartikoff on my wall.
Wow.
Really weird stuff.
Yeah.
For those that may not know, he was the legendary head of NBC programming for a while. Oh. So I would like just obsessively watch a bunch of TV because my mom didn't want me outside. I was shy.
Right.
I was either reading books or watching TV. So
wow,
that was my 80s. I spent it watching every show on the moon, under the moon.
So now you've graduated, you get through your 3 or 4 years at UFT, and now you're deciding on, what I'm going to do. And you just mentioned that Warren said, let's go to this Canadian Film Center. And for those, like I mentioned, accomplished TV writer, he's got producer credits, right? Man, walk me through that journey, man, because this is, I've known you like in your adult life, right? So all of this backstory now puts a lot oh, I get it. Like I see it now, but I think I'd love for you to share, Szechuan on a balcony.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then, where I fell off and Warren fell off, what drove you to continue to be who you are today, like a filmmaker? I mean, we could talk about the American Film Institute, screenwriting, the program in Los Angeles, right? All of that. And I know that this was a real difficult time for most people to achieve their goals and their dreams, man. But you did this, it blows my mind. I have a lot of respect for you, for what you've done. So please take it away. Tell me, give me the from the Canadian Film Center onward story.
Yeah. So it's just, Warren, I don't know how you even came across it, but me, Warren, and Ian Shaw. Volunteered there.
Wow. I didn't know Ian did that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Ian wanted to get a little foot in there at one point. He really was great with crew and kind of like, he's a charismatic guy himself. Yep. So they took to him in a second, right? But yeah, we were just there and it was exhausting. It was grinding work. You're not doing anything creative. You're just doing the grunt work, but you're around it. And it opened my eyes to this place. I didn't know it existed. And at the time, that was people like, there's a guy named Brad Payton who was in that class, and Vincenzo Natali.
Okay.
Vincenzo Natali's like made some really fantastic movies like Splice, and he's like a horror aficionado now.
Okay.
Really well respected. And Brad Payton, who at the time, I had a real quick conversation with the guy. He was like, man, I come from a place of 600 people in East Coast.
Wow.
And I've never been to a big city in my life. And now that dude is like a A-list director in Hollywood from the Film Center.
Wow.
He did like Journey to the Center of the Earth and stuff like that. Like he's a monster.
Yeah.
You know, not that I'm in touch with him or anything like that, but these are the people that were at the Film Center at the time. So it's like, damn, this is cool. How do I do this program? And like, they realize, okay, you have to make a short film. So Warner and I, well, let's do this thing, man. And we just kind of dove in without any idea what we were doing.
Of course.
And Warren's like, yo, I got this friend named Paul Gittens, man. And he's a producer. I'm like, oh, damn, you know a producer? Damn. He's like, yeah, he makes movies, man. He's going to the Vancouver Film School. So, you know, that's when I got introduced to you. Spent many a night in the basement over there, your parents' house.
Yeah.
Reasoning.
Talking about who's going to do this thing.
Yeah, doing how this do. Richard Grimmins would pop in.
Yeah.
And
wow, what a memory, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so, yeah, so when we just naivete went and made a short film at the time. Now I'm watching art house film. I'm going down to Cumberland, going over to the College Theater, the Rainbow Theater, where we are doing volunteer work over at the Liaison of Independent Filmmaking in Toronto, LIFT, which is over by what is now Liberty Village. Mm-hmm. That was not Liberty Village.
Yeah.
That was an asbestos-filled crack town.
Yes.
Where there was a few people who had office space over there. Alison Duke had her Rage Productions over there.
Yeah.
Making music videos and commercials and doing it before anyone else. And then they had LIFT. And if you go volunteer there, they give you free equipment. So we come from Scarborough all the way downtown to the west side.
Wow.
Dufferin and King, basically.
Yeah.
And go volunteer there and sweep up the place. And so I'm watching a bunch of movies. I'm getting to know things. So Szechuan on a Balcony was my attempt to do like a cinema verite, like a cahier de cinema, you know, like them French boys are trying to be like, you know, that whole movement in the 60s there, and particularly Eric Romer. So we go make this pretentious movie about 4 Black people talking about life,
right,
while eating Szechuan on a balcony.
Yes, sir.
So we called it Szechuan on a balcony.
Yeah, man.
And I didn't know what I was doing. Someone on set mistook me for the PA. They're like, "Are you the PA?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually the co-director." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Don't be sorry. I haven't opened my mouth yet, so that's why you don't know."
Yeah, man.
So just the lack of confidence, lack of idea what to do.
Because you got to start somewhere, right?
Starting somewhere.
And you did it. You did it, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So how old were you then?
Probably about, I was graduated already, so it's probably mid-20s, maybe 25.
Right. So 25, and you got bitten by the bug now.
Oh yeah,
it's on now. It's game on, right? You want this bad.
Yeah, we're going to be a team. We were like, we were looking at Clement Virgo and Damon Delavera. We said we could be a team like that.
Yeah.
Come up in this place, and so we made a couple of shorts. But big mistake we made was we needed to be like what Damon and Clement did is Clement was a director. There was never, we were co-directing everything, which muddied the waters because now we want to present this to the film center. Like, well, we can only accept one of you. We don't accept teams, and we don't know who's who.
Right.
So we're like, okay, we got to make a short each now. So we'll just put together one short. I'll produce and write, and you direct, and the other one, and we're trying to make our way through this. We're working in call centers, paying for all this.
Oh yeah.
And then eventually Warren's like, man, I can't even keep this up no more. I got to tap out.
Right.
So I'm like, what? Now I'm like, I thought we were a team.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm set back a few steps here. What am I going to do? So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I have to just concentrate on the writing side right now because I'm tapped out financially. I can't make another short right now. I eventually did make another short, but that didn't get me into the film center. And the directing at the film center was just really fierce. So I decided to try getting in through the writing. I got a lot more love that way.
Okay.
Some pretty significant names said, hey, you got some talent here. I got as far as like the final, interviews for the program, but I didn't get in. And this kept happening a few times, right? Then I said, all right, well, I started feeling really stifled here. I started thinking Toronto was a place that was holding me back because there's no industry here. There's no jobs here. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
I started personifying, it was like me against Toronto. I felt like this thing that was clamping, this anchor, weighing me down. And then, by then our other friend, Dwight Ireland, he was taken off to the US to go and chase his dreams. And when you go visit, it seemed like the energy I would get out of New York or LA was young Black people were doing things. Like I had no money and was just trying to get a grant for $5,000. And you're meeting people that are like 27 and I'm like, oh, I'm the head of Fubu's art direction. And they're making a 6-figure salary. And this seemed quite common in the corridors I'm moving. I'm like, and everyone kept saying, yeah, that's how it is down here. Yeah. You got to get out of Toronto.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to get a visa. There was no visa to get for arts, right? Like it didn't work that way. And so I'm trying to apply to film schools and stuff and can't get in. Rejection. I had enough rejections I could probably mural up a wall. I could make a beautiful, beautiful pastiche and just cover a room with
you kept going though.
These rejections.
What made you keep going?
I'm not really certain. I think part of it was a true belief that I'm actually good at this. I think I'm good at this. Maybe delusional, but I really do think I'm good at this. But at the same time, and I felt like it didn't show in my shorts because I didn't get that, and I also found out little things like Sud Sutherland was kind enough to mentor me and he was like, did you have any pickup days on your thing? I'm like, what's a pickup day? He's like, man, come on, dude. We make mistakes while shooting this shit and then we come back and we have pickup days. You had no pickup days? I said, I had no money. And he's like, and who, did you show your script to? And did you get any feedback? Nope. Who's the mentor? I was discussing the story and nope. There was no help.
You against the world here.
Right. He's like, well, you end up with a rough product this way. You're not going to have, it's unrefined. You didn't have the mentors. You didn't, he says, I wish you had let me know a few steps earlier and maybe guided you a little more because you're almost here with these projects. You're 80% of the way.
And how did you meet him?
I met him actually through the Summer Institute of Film. I paid at the time $1,500, something like that. It might have been $10,000 back then. And we went to Ottawa to do these courses and workshops. And at the time, Warren and I went and did it. We were roommates in Hull, Quebec. And we met Suds and he was already kind of working at this point. He was doing kids TV and TV Ontario. And he was on his way. He was just about to get his movie done. And so I met him through that program. We keep in touch. And the next thing you know, he's got his movie. Him and his wife are popping off. And it was wow. So they were kind of local rock stars at this point. You're making a movie. I can't even imagine getting into a program and y'all are making a movie. And it was around the same time I met Charles Officer too, rest in peace. And he was making his first short film that got him into the film center. And then he had a scorching run where it took him right to his first feature.
Right.
So it's I think part of it is I could see two people doing it that are around my age. Yeah. They're from my experiences. Yep. Why not me? Right. And I'm a little different to both their experiences. You know what I mean? I'm a real housing guy. They grew up with parents. They had their dad around. They grew up in kind of middle-class milieus at times, I know Charles is a bit of a phlegmo man too. So, wasn't perfect, but I felt like there was an example there. And then at the time I'm seeing it was around that time when Spike was making his movies and there was a little movement happening of
there was
Black cinema. I felt I could be part of that.
So during this time, right? How do you, how do you stay creative, right? In a time where it's so difficult and not get angry about this whole process?
Well, I didn't. I got angry. I was getting angrier and angrier.
Okay. All right.
It was very difficult because I don't really work well outside of, I got to be in it, like amniotic fluid.
Okay.
And that's why I kept trying to get into these film programs because I didn't know what to do. I needed to work if I wasn't.
So you got into one though?
Eventually, but it was way later. I didn't get into it early at all. I got enough rejection letters to paint a whole home.
But you didn't give up.
Right. But I was kind of working at these jobs, and then the writing suffered.
That's what I'm trying to.
It's like a year goes by. You're like, I'm still working on that short film.
Yeah.
I'm still writing a short. Like, it's not working. I can't work at a call center, come home tired and try to do this thing.
So what was the tipping point for you? Like, when did you, feel like, man, I'm hitting my wave now?
I don't know if I ever hit a wave. I feel like what happened is I do some jobs and I'd be working on a project, and then my heart's not in the job at all. And eventually I would get fired from that job. And then I'd have some time at home and I'd write. And then I'd run out of money and I'd realize I need to get a job. But in the times when I'm not doing anything, I'd write something interesting.
Okay.
And then
you needed the bandwidth. You needed that bandwidth.
Yes, and I never got the bandwidth.
I completely agree with you. When you talk about that, because to be creative, to create something, you need that space.
People around you.
Yeah, man.
Like,
I know.
bounce ideas and creative people to talk to.
Yeah.
But so it was not working. That strategy wasn't working, and it was taking much longer now. And every year that goes by, you're drifting further and further away. You're getting older. Now I'm in my 30s now. I've touched 30. Now, everyone I admired had made their first movie by 32. Now it's starting to look like this isn't a dream anymore. It looks like a pipe dream. It's like, the talk by everybody is like, dude, it didn't work. Like, your family, friends, like, they mean it well, but they're like, maybe you should look at, I got a good government job here for you. You're a smart kid. Go back to do teacher's college. Or, like, you're getting older.
No,
settle down.
I know.
So I'm getting that talks now, and I'm not anywhere, and I
You're
don't
not
have
having
nothing.
it, though.
I'm not having it. And I can't really make relationships work because I feel like if I get too invested, then I'm going to end up giving this whole thing up, and I'll end up in the suburbs, and I'll get divorced because I'm unhappy and drinking too much. And then, but it all kind of I kept applying to these programs. Then I got this was a cruel one. University of New Orleans actually accepted me. They called me and they said, we love your application. Would you be serious about coming down to New Orleans? I'm like, are you kidding me? Go study in New Orleans?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but are you serious? Or are we a backup choice? Because a lot of people say they're coming and then they go. I said, no. If you want me to send a vial of blood over or sign a contract or something, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, we're going to send your application off to the grad school. But what that school was one of those places you had to get double approved. So there's the film faculty that approved you. Now you need the grad school to approve you.
Okay.
And my GPA didn't get approved. So they had to call me back and tell me, the grad school you'd have to up your grades. So I'm 33, going to go back and up grades to try to go back to school.
Yeah.
So this was getting worse and worse. And then AFI was another place that was dancing around me. So they'd call and say, hey, can you meet in New York? We love your application. So you're thinking, you're making people go to New York. This is a serious thing.
Yeah.
Go to New York, have a great interview, don't get in. Then they call you, come to Los Angeles. Okay, now they're really serious. Go to Los Angeles, have a great interview, you don't get in. And then I went back to New York again. Fourth time, I'm like, man, fuck these fools. I'm done with this shit if they're not letting me in this time around. I don't get in again. So I'm like, okay, I'm done. Now I'm past 35 now. I'm in the tipping zone. I'm getting in my late 30s now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm 36. And then a few weeks before their program started, they call me and say, hey, there's a spot for you. I'm like, what do you mean a spot? You rejected me in February.
Yeah.
This is August now. They're like, oh no, we put you on the waiting list. Lies. But now some people have fallen through.
Yeah.
They need a spot.
Yeah.
But they put that worm in my head now and I can't unsee it, but it doesn't make sense. You need $100,000 to go. I don't have any money. I'm now in a relationship living in Ajax, becoming what I told you. I'm getting chunky, drinking too much. Kid's probably going to pop off in a year or two. And my only enjoyment is to go to soca fetes and just get stupid drunk.
So you pulled the plug and you went.
Yeah, I just pulled the plug and
So
I
you
went.
just said, okay, that's it. We're
I
done.
did. It
You're
pressed
not
the
really, you
eject
just,
button out of my life. So I ruined everything. Like it was a bad time as well. It was the worst housing market in Canada's history, I think. So I couldn't sell my place. I was already in LA. So I lost my place because I couldn't keep paying for both. I ran out of money in LA. The person I was with at that point, the fissures in our relationship become much clearer when you press the eject button. So they made a very wise choice and said, I'm out of here too. So I was like, my credit's rusted, my money's gone, relationship's gone, house is gone. I'm like, but I'm down in LA and I'm actually living the dream. I'm like talking to people and it's cinema every day and I'm around people and I'm like in it. So with help from some people outside the system, shall we say, I was able to stay in LA. It definitely wasn't bank loans and, just go through what I call my scorched earth period where I feel like everything the leaps I was afraid to take.
Yeah.
Like I was taking certain leaps up here.
Yeah.
And I never really fully let go, but I also didn't give up the day job.
Right.
At the call center.
Right.
I wasn't willing to see, like I couldn't see what steps could come. Like I eventually got a tattoo about stepping forward and letting providence take over. The things you can't see.
Yeah, yeah.
Trusting the things you can't see. After years of going to church, I didn't trust in the things you can't see. So now things are happening because I'm gone. I'm off the cliff. Right? I've left nothing for the swim back, as they say in Gattaca.
Yeah.
So now I'm in my scorched earth phase where it's a very painful period.
Yeah.
Because everything is torn apart. But lava, when it scorches the land, it makes it real fertile underneath it. So after the scorching, I'm in there writing now and I'm actually making leaps creatively. And the next thing you know, I've got agents and managers and things are starting to take off. And then now I'm in a real career, or at least the beginnings of a career. It wasn't perfect.
Well,
there was still ups and downs.
Nothing ever is, man.
But now I'm officially in this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of...
So how long were you in LA?
For 8 years. I was there from 2008 to 2016.
8 years?
Yeah. And then that's when my mom, I realized she needed my help back home. And she had developed dementia. And she was living on her own by herself. And I was ignoring the signs, chasing the LA thing. And again, remember I said, I felt like Toronto was my enemy.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to come back here.
Yeah.
Under no circumstances was I returning. I was living on a friend's cot.
In LA.
Point. Yeah, I didn't have an apartment at that point. I didn't have nowhere to go. Eventually, they kept eroding. Eventually started, you have a place to live and a little bit of money thanks to your friends. Then that money runs out. You graduate by the grace of God. Then you move to smaller and smaller and smaller places. Eventually, you just got a hovel in the ground, but now you can't even pay for that. Then you have your friends kind of covering you. I had a whole crew, Black creatives that we lived in Crenshaw and had a little house there for like $600, right where Nipsey Hussle was murdered.
Wow.
Like literally, that was our major corner.
Wow.
And then I asked a buddy of mine if I could, I was bouncing around now. I'm just like, oh, I'm in Beverly Hills for a few weeks. I'm over here. I'm over there. Then I asked a buddy of mine if I could sleep on a cot in his place for a couple of weeks. That turned into like 2 years. But that's LA. It's a bubble. Everyone's chasing the dream. And
so during this time, obviously it's difficult. Mom's sick now. I read this book, Life Quakes by Bruce Feiler, and it says you can't plan for stuff. Right? So like, how do you, clearly you're putting things in compartments, right? And you're dealing with them when you have to deal with them, right? And you're staying motivated to continue to write, right? Through this process. And of course, you mentioned you're dealing with, the anger and the frustration of doing this, but you seem to be around people that are propping you up and helping you, get through this time, right? What was that defining moment, like when you started getting paid for what you were doing, right? And starting to see that you have a real career?
Well, I mean, the AFI years, again, were really fertile, and I'm meeting real, legit, top-notch A-list people. So that's when it was certified for me at that point. When you're talking to people with Emmys and Oscars,
Wow.
and they're saying, you got it. There's no money in my pocket.
But you got it.
I got it. And I don't need to, I know I'm going to go on from here because they told me that. And we tried to do things and they just fell apart or close calls. I had a lot of close calls during that period, like fork in the roads where had I gotten this particular job,
right.
I might already be 3 rehabs in at some nice Malibu clinic. Have an infinity pool. All that stuff. But that wasn't the paths. Like I said, I was also very angry. I started, I'm from Scarborough, so I have friends in all kinds of different walks of life. I know friends that are engineers and doctors, and I know friends that are street youths. And so I started cleaving to my street friends a little more. I felt in a certain way they were at least free. I'm sitting here starving, and these guys can do what they want with their days. And as mentioned, certain loans came from that side of things. So I was getting a little reckless, and could have really derailed everything around that time. So I had to rein in what I didn't realize was
in your head?
The anger.
You're hearing her voice in your head?
I think probably even maybe just some protections there, man. Like maybe my mom's prayers were heard, and I was under some sort of divine, umbrella of protection there that I'm grateful for. But I think what happened, the LA time is you're taking all these meetings. It's might happen, might go, might happen, might go.
It's an emotional roller coaster, never mind a financial roller coaster, right?
Yeah. And
so you gotta be tough, man. You're tough.
Yeah, we're living tough. And I'm recently
out of school. You are tough though, man. You mean part of the reason that I'm doing this is because I find that, stories about people that have made it, to whatever accomplishments in their lives always tell the good parts of the story. You know what I mean? They were never really telling the hard truth, right? And what it takes, the fortitude that it takes to accomplish your dreams, man. You know what I mean? And not to give up. And
people want to hear that.
And that's badass.
I just did a panel the other day for CBC.
Okay.
And it was CBC doing the rolling out the welcome mat for emerging artists. And they did a whole conference for them.
Okay.
And I was on a panel about how,
congratulations,
you get started with CBC and my history with them.
Huh.
But I was just very honest with people. I said, I think a lot of you rightfully look at me and say, man, I'd love to get to where he's at.
Right.
And, you see me that I worked on the Porter. I was very fortunate enough to be able to fit in there.
Right.
But what you don't see is that since the Porter, our industry is in such flux. That's the last greenlit show I've done. And that's 3 years ago now that I did my writing portion of it.
Yeah.
The show aired in 2022.
Right.
But my actual duties ended in 2020.
Yeah.
And I've worked since. It's not like I'm run out of money or anything. It's more like none of the shows I've worked on have been greenlit.
Right.
And you put all this heart and soul into these things and then it doesn't go. More time doesn't go. And then after a while, no one sees your name up in these credits anymore.
Yeah.
So I said,
it's real.
There's levels to this stuff where when you think you're there, you're.
So that kind of leads me into would you say that, that you're happy having gone through all of it and where you are today, that you didn't give up? Because,
yes, 100%.
Right? Because, I have times get quoted saying this to my kids or to anybody who's willing to listen, right? Is that, the happiest people live in the present, right? The unhappiest people live in the past, right? And the overachievers live in the future, right? So if you're to look at your, right now in this moment and go, man, I'm glad I didn't give up.
Yeah, 100%. I still, it's this industry is such I don't even know. Calling it an industry is even a bit of a fallacy, but it is constantly moving underneath your feet.
Yeah.
It moves the goalposts.
Yeah.
It has no rhyme or reason. It's not fair. It's not a meritocracy. It's arbitrary at times. It's painfully cruel. and it's just a litany of rejection with a few little bright spots. So we're gluttons for punishment. I tell people all the time, you better really have a compulsion to do this. And I know you see the red carpets and you see that the people who are doing it have money. That's true.
Mm.
But like my graduating class, there's 8 people that are working now. I was a graduating class at the American Film Institute, which is considered the Harvard of writing.
Yeah.
8 people. You go to a business school, the graduating class all has jobs paying $250,000 to start that day.
Yeah.
They're sifting through offers. Nobody's unemployed.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So you have to just know what you're getting into. I knew my joy was tied to the arts. My fulfillment is tied to the arts, and I wasn't going to be happy in the corporate world. I'm in the corporate world, ironically, because that's who runs this shit.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to be happy at TELUS or Rogers or whatever else. I don't regret those decisions. And the journey is the journey. I can't look back and say, I wish it moved quicker, or I'm here. I'm healthy, and by the grace of God, I'm still doing this thing. So I'll see where I'm going. I don't think I've accomplished, if I was to be done tomorrow, I don't think I've made a quintessential Andrew Burrows-Trotman project yet.
Okay.
But I would say that The Porter would be the closest to it. I was very fortunate to be involved with that. And shout out to Arnold Pinnock.
Great show.
And Bruce Ramsey, the creators. And shout out to Marcia Green and Anne-Marie Murray for shaping it into the beautiful television show it was. I was very fortunate to get chosen to 1 or 2 spots on the writing staff and to work with them. And to also get a chance to work with Charles Officer and RT after all those years.
Yeah.
And it's just really tragic that Charles has passed. And, it's weird that the last thing is he directed the episode I wrote, So there's a lot of things that came out of that I would never give up for $1 million. Well, maybe for $1 million. But like I cherish those memories and for what it did. So, that's to me my quintessential piece, but I don't feel like I've done any ABT work yet.
So that leads me to, to the point where we start to round the corner here on towards the end of this conversation. And the name of the podcast is Legacy for a reason, right? So my question then to you is like, do you think about, what your legacy, where do you want your legacy to be, at the end of your earth journey? Like, what do you want to be remembered for?
I mean, so when I say I haven't contributed my ABT project yet, that's to me isn't legacy. That's to me what I want to do. That's just to me fear of death, we'll call it. Just to know that when I stop, when I'm silenced and not here anymore, that something I wanted to say can be found and reset. But I'm not on any preconceived notions that people move on with their lives. Like, there was greater people than me that no one remembers. Like, no one remembers who the great artists of the Incans and the Mayans were.
But that's why we're doing stuff like this, right? Because, nobody knows that story. And if we don't tell it, right, then how do you...
But even telling it to me, I don't tell it. I feel it's just me drawing in the sand. And I think that's fine. I don't know if... I think what I did is so important. I do.
I disagree with you, man. You know why I disagree with you? I disagree with you because unbeknownst to yourself, there's some kid in his or her room that is creative, that has an imagination, that has a penchant for writing, and they don't know that they could do it. And if they hear your story and they got the truth from it, man, it's an inspiration, Drew. Like you're an inspiration. I speak about you in my own home to my kids, right? About, the truth, because I tell my kids all the time, life's not fair, right? And be prepared for that. But when I hear this story, I'm going to go home, man. I'm going to go home and I'm going to be just absorbing all of this energy from this conversation today, because honest to God, they give yourself that permission to believe that you've done something really damn cool and you pioneered some stuff, because there's not a lot of Black people in TV and film.
Not a lot at all.
Right? And you took the choice and charted a course, right, to where you are today. And that took, like I said to you earlier, a lot of fortitude, right? A lot of faith courage, right? To get to where you are right now. And, listen, you're not going to, there's no chance now that you can live the time you have left on this planet saying, I wish I coulda, woulda, because you did it. I'm going to say this, and you and I could talk for hours on this, man. Shoot, because this is a beautiful story, man. Maybe we have to pick this up again another time, but I want to say this. At the end of every podcast, I have a quote, right? And I believe, you said something to me once that I've never forgotten, right? And you said, luck occurs when preparation meets opportunity, right? And that stuck with me, man. Like we're talking like 30 years. That is stuck with me, right? So what does that mean to you?
It doesn't fall from the sky. It's not manna from the sky. It's the reason the manna reached people is they took the journey in the desert. If they don't take the journey in the desert, the manna in the sky doesn't happen. So it's, to me, like everything that's been kind of like, wow, that was a great bounce of, like, for instance, I'm developing several projects with Stefan James and Shamir Anderson.
No way.
Yeah. And we're now at a point, like, those are my dogs now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Developed a bond.
Wow.
But it all started, I followed, my lady was doing a conference. She's an academic. So she was doing a conference at UWI. And I went to Jamaica and I'm just there. She has to do her own thing. So I don't have time. We can't hang out. So I got to find things to do. And instead of going to the beach, I was fascinated with Tivoli Gardens.
Okay.
So I got her family to get me into Tivoli Gardens. You have to get into Tivoli Gardens and speak to people there, talk to people there. And then I saw something. I mean, I'm not going to say like I'm the only person. A lot of people see the cinematic nature of the story of many things happening there. But out of that, I came back and wrote a feature. And nobody wanted to do anything with it. I showed it around. People, we like it. And I remember running into Shamir somewhere and just mentioning it to him. He's like, cool, man, cool. Then a few years later around COVID, he's parked up, can't work. I'm parked up, can't work. And he calls me and says, that Jamaica thing, let's talk. And, we developed a different take on it. But
okay,
if I don't do that work,
right,
and then if I don't say something to him,
right,
then you don't get the luck later of getting an actor of his stature. And then from that, they introduced me to like Greg Shapiro, who is the Academy Award-winning producer of The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30.
So my man's dropping names.
And he brought me in on another project of his, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, and then Kevin MacDonald is a director that I met through them, Last King of Scotland. And there's another thing, a UK project where they didn't even know me and they were kind of looking for someone around my level and everything. And he mentioned me to them and they're like, we heard his name from other people. And, so this is what I'm saying. It's these, that's the luck part. Like my first ever job, the thing that broke me in, I got to work with Clement Virgo and Damon D'Oliveira. So they're coming off a Book of Negroes. They're hot.
Yeah.
Like, this was a big hit.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
And whoa, BET came in and like, it was a thing. So they're going to do a follow-up with that author's next book. And it's called The Illegal. And Clement was writing the book on his own, writing the adaptation on his own. He's an excellent writer. He doesn't need help with that stuff. But then he got busy with a bunch of American work. And CBC needed to pick up the pace. So they said, okay, we got to find a writer. But, they're looking for a writer to pair with Clement Virgo. They're looking for someone with a page of credits.
Yeah,
and, a resume. I have no resume at this point. But I had done a project on Harriet Tubman that I almost sold to a studio up here. And the woman, Sally Cato, who was working at this studio called Cineflex at the time, she wanted to buy it, but couldn't work it out because there was a lot of inner politics, whatever the case. She ended up going over to CBC and becoming like a head of production, I believe, over that. She's pretty high up in the rankings there. And they needed to get this approved, whoever they decide to hire. So my agent, who's still my agent now, Amy Stolberg, who amazing and owe a lot in my career to her, she kind of like pressured those guys to hire me and said, look, man, like he has no credits, but You know, you could do the job. And if you're about this life, let's go.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, we want to raise up another black man in this industry. We're going to do it. We don't care about the credits, but we have to get CBC to approve it. They go to CBC expecting pushback because rightfully they want someone experienced.
Right.
Instead, Sally says, oh, I know him. I love his work. Hired. Right. But if I don't have that stuff previously, and we're talking years between this.
Yeah.
So how things pay off. You got to be patient. You just got to have faith and believe and understand you're not going to know how the math is going to add up.
Yeah, man.
Or how it comes together. But yeah, that's what I mean.
Luck occurs when preparation meets opportunity.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna conclude this. Man, I have a newfound respect for you. A lot of that stuff that you were going through, I was busy chasing around 2 little kids, right? So I missed out on all of that.
An empire. Well,
yeah. I wish.
Nothing major.
I'm just, God bless you. God bless you for giving me your time, right?
God bless you for making it.
And man, and sharing this.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
Yes.
Andrew Burrows-Trotman, Burrows, Drew, all those monikers. This is my guy. Known him a long time. And I wish you all the best, man.
Man. Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Who Project today. I hope our conversation has sparked a fire within you to reflect on your core values and the intentional choices that will define your journey. If you felt inspired by this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a boost of inspiration. Remember, your values are your guiding star. Let them lead you to a life brimming with purpose and fulfillment. Until next time, I'm PG, urging you to lead with what truly matters to you the most. And before I sign off, I want you to remember this. When you define who you are, you will discover the success you deserve.